Finally, who is Kamala Harris? This is the vice presidential nominee of Joe Biden for the Democrats. And the US election interests me, it interests us all, because it has such a great impact on the entire world, but also because, I've got to tell you, I find it pretty colourful and interesting. It's more colourful and interesting than our politics. Mind you, Daniel Andrews lately has been colourful and interesting for bad reasons. But anyway, that's a whole other topic. I'm a bit late, but I do want to address the recent nomination of Kamala Harris as Joe Biden's vice presidential running mate for the Democratic ticket. What does it mean in comparison to the Trump-Pence alternative? Indeed, a comparison might be made between the vice presidents. Mike Pence, on the one hand, a very committed and unwavering Christian man. If you look at some of his speeches to Christian crowds, he's quite great. And then you have Kamala Harris on the other side, who really is a very different entity. And it really is a tale of two different belief systems. So who is Kamala? First, she ticks some diversity boxes. She is a female of colour. She's got a Jamaican father and an Indian mother. She's also a senator from California professionally. Before that, she was the state's attorney general and the district attorney before that. Question, what are her political views? Well, the first thing to note is that she is very, 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 very left-wing. Very, very left-wing. Govtrack.us, did I say enough to varies? Govtrack.us has done the hard work for us on this by tracking the voting records of US politicians, and it describes them an ideology score based on an algorithm which analyses which bills they voted for and who else they voted with and all that kind of thing, and then it gives them a score relative to each other. So it's not Govtrack deciding whether they're left or right, it's a relative score based on their comparison with the other, 99 senators. There's 100 senators in total in the US Senate. And in 2019, Kamala Harris was ranked as the most left-wing of all 100 senators in America. More left-wing than Bernie Sanders, who is basically a communist. But as of August 2020, so coming up to the current time, she's no longer the most left-wing, but she is in the top 4 most left-wing senators. And her beliefs certainly bear that out. Let me go through some key tweets. On Black Lives Matter, she says, or are they all tweets? I think they're all tweets, some might be quotes. On Black Lives Matter, she says, we're experiencing a moral reckoning with racism and injustice. I think that's true, by the way, but then it goes to Custard after this. That has brought a new coalition of conscience to the streets of our country demanding change. To everyone keeping up the fight, you are doing something. You are doing something great. You are heroes of our time. That is said in the context of riots, looting, destruction, burning down churches. I mean, I talk to my American friends. I can tell you, the situation in the cities over there, it's dark. It's dark. Very disconnected from the way people feel, by the way, in the cities of, around America, in the city areas in particular, in terms of just how much those sorts of actions have changed their cities. Anyway, on religious freedom, she's called the right freedom of worship instead of religious freedom on many occasions, which is typical. What it means is that it's in the 4 walls of a church only kind of thing. You can worship, but the public practice element is constrained. And she's actually said that. She said that it's constrained to someone's inner life and private activity. Quote, she said, it protects the development and expression of an inner sanctum of personal religious faith. In other words, believe what you want, but don't do anything about it. It's very common for someone of this particular ideological flavour to feel that way about religious freedom. You have to basically give away your conscience and beliefs in the public squares. On climate change, she said, climate change is an imminent threat to our planet unless we correct course. It's within our power to do so. Now is the time. On abortion, abortion is a fundamental issue of justice in America and we will never stop fighting for it. Every woman deserves safe, affordable access to comprehensive reproductive health care, including abortion. On LGBTQ issues, she is a big supporter of conversion therapy bans, a key supporter of the Equality Act, which effectively relegates basic freedoms like speech and religion below equality rights. California Representative Mark Takano has said, quote, Harris is revered in the LGBTQ community for her leadership as Attorney General. Joe Biden selecting her as his running mate reflects the deep value that both candidates share regarding equality for LGBTQ people. So there's some quotes from people and from her on some key issues. This is her legislative voting record. Some highlights, let me say some, just highlights. She supported government funding of abortion for family planning, so Title X they call that, for the Americans, you'll know. Also opposing the appointment of Justices Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court. She supports the inclusion of safe schools curriculum in government schools. Australians, you know all about safe schools. Voting to roll back the effect of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. She supports bans on conversion therapy, and I've talked about that topic at length in other segments to show that it isn't what it sounds like. It is basically an attack on Christianity. Voting for a new, and parents, Christian parents. She voted for a new special advisor to the Secretary of State, which is the American foreign minister effectively, on LGBTQ issues, to put these issues at the forefront forefront of US foreign policy. She voted to support legal abortion after 20 weeks. She opposed laws which would have required doctors to render medical care to babies born alive and left to die, which is just barbaric. She co-sponsored an act to allow abortion to the point of birth. She's opposed the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act to ban late-term abortions of babies that can feel pain in the womb. She's opposed the disincentivizing of private insurance coverage of abortion. And she opposes moves to keep Planned Parenthood out of government programs. Those are just the highlights. There are two further points I would like to make after that little menu of things, which I think I'd like to zoom in on too. First is her role in the same-sex marriage issue in California when she was the district attorney, but secondly, when she was Attorney General, her role in the David Daleiden matter. And you might say, well, what's that? I'll get to it in just a minute. I have covered it in previous episodes, but I'll give a background when we get there. And that really is the most shocking thing. So just wait for me to get to it. But regarding same-sex marriage, just quickly, as district attorney in California, she officiated same-sex weddings before they were legal. They were later declared invalid, but she did that as an activist thing, as a public official. And she also performed the first legal same-sex wedding in San Francisco. And she adds this note in her book. She says, "We were preparing for the ceremony when somebody pulled me aside to say that the clerk in Los Angeles was refusing to issue marriage licenses until he heard from the state. He clearly needed direction. It was as simple as passing me the phone. 'This is Kamala Harris,' I said. 'You must start the marriages immediately.' 'All right,' he responded, sounding relieved. 'I will take that as our notice and we will issue the license now.' I thanked him. 'And enjoy it,' I added. 'It's going to be fun.'" Same-sex marriage. Regarding the David Daleiden matter, and this is something worth just mentioning. This is something I've covered before. For those who don't know, the Center for Medical Progress and the expose videos, you can look up David Daleiden on our YouTube, and you probably find the two clips I've done. But this is the guy who went undercover as a representative from a biotech company, and he secured meetings with abortionists to expose just how shocking the industry practices really are, which many people were not previously aware of. They included meetings with very senior executives from America's largest abortion service, Planned Parenthood. They were all filmed, and watching them, I tell you, will turn your stomach. It's absolutely horrific, these videos. There's 12 of them, and they're quite, solid length videos of his interactions with these people and the things he saw and the things that were said. It's unreal. It's from the pit of hell. It's demonic. They wanted his money, and they were prepared to do whatever it took, as they confessed that they had been doing for some time, and they'd been doing the following. 1, selling the baby body parts or the body parts of aborted babies as an industry standard practice, thereby trading in human organs and tissues. Secondly, adjusting their abortion procedures to birth late-term babies alive and harvest their organs whilst they are still alive to obtain the best quality specimens. Thirdly, providing price lists to biotech companies for such things as whole babies' heads, whole fetuses, and hearts that are still beating. You can buy those things as a biotech company off an abortionist, and they do. The expose was incontrovertible. There were those 12 videos, and in a moral world, it would have brought down the abortion industry overnight. It exposed abortionists, clinic directors, and Planned Parenthood executives at the highest levels in the true nature of their work and their industry. It showed that they were aborting babies using illegal methods and selling organs in an illegal trade. Kamala Harris was the Attorney General at the time. In the state where the expose took place, guess what she did? She had agents raid Daleiden's home and prosecuted him and his colleague, Sandra Merritt, on 15 felony charges. The first time a number of those charges had ever been laid against a journalist. And not one thing happened to the abortionists. Planned Parenthood donated $80,000 to Harris's Senate campaign, which took place after this. In November last year, Daleiden and his colleagues were ordered to pay $2.3 million in damages. In another matter that's ongoing, he and his colleague Sandra Merritt could face up to 10 years in prison. Just 2 weeks ago, Daleiden was ordered by a court to pay $600,000 within 14 days as an appeal bond, which is an amount that he has to raise in order to secure the right to appeal a ruling against him, which I don't even understand what that is, but maybe it's an American thing, or if it's Australian, I haven't heard of it. Extraordinary. And if he didn't raise the money, though, his lawyers were saying that Planned Parenthood could have the right to come and take everything that he owned. And the judge in one of the most significant cases against him is William Orrick, who once sat on the board of an organisation that housed a Planned Parenthood clinic. And his wife has been posting on her Facebook, "I stand with Planned Parenthood." Amazing. Talk about bias. Who is Kamala Harris? Need I say any more? There's a lot said regarding the US elections which ignores some of these matters. A lot said, for example, about Donald Trump's character. That means, as far as I can tell, some vulgar remarks about women from his past and his love of baiting his detractors on Twitter. Now, his character is no worse. It's a bit more brash, but it's no worse than that of a number of other American presidents. Think Bill Clinton, think others. Now, that doesn't make it right, and I'm not saying that it's right. But here's the question that we have to grapple with, all of us, whatever country we live in, because we face this reality wherever we live, if we have voting rights, which is how do we deal with candidates for government who are not completely morally squeaky clean in their public image? What does one do? Whether you're in the United States, whether you're in Canada, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, United Kingdom, Finland, Bahrain, Djibouti, whatever. I don't know if they vote in Djibouti. I should know that. But anyway, the answer is simple. Vote on policy. What is it that the elected representatives will do in office for the country? What are their aspirations? Where do they desire to take us? On that score, in the American case, the Biden-Harris ticket and the Trump-Pence ticket could not be more different. I'm Mark Niles.